Velkommen til det her webinar med 2cureX. Vi har fået besøg af CEO Fernando og CSO Ole. Og inden de får ordet, så vil jeg bare lige sige et par kort kommentarer. I har mulighed for at stille spørgsmål undervejs. Så skal jeg nok sørge for at samle sammen, og så stiller vi til Fernando og Ole til sidste webinar. Det her det kommer til at foregå på engelsk. Vi har Fernando siddende i Barcelona. So Fernando and Ole, the word is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Frederick. Yeah, I will start by sharing my screen. I hope you can see it.
We can see your screen, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fernando Andreu. I am the CEO of the company 2cureX, and I am very happy to have the chance to present today to all of you about our company and the latest developments that we are seeing. Let me start by explaining the why. Why are we doing what we are doing? This slide is very shocking, but it's actually real data. 70% of cancer drugs today are ineffective. And this ineffectiveness has nothing to do with the drugs themselves being good or bad. It has mostly to do with the fact that not every drug works for every patient. Therefore, this individual variation, patient to patient, is a real challenge for oncologists today. Matching treatments to specific patients is a real unmet clinical need in oncology today. So our vision is that our test, IndiTreat, will become the global standard for oncologists to individualize cancer treatment. IndiTreat is a test, as you will see later, that we have developed to help oncologists select the best treatment for one specific patient. So we will guide you through the coming slides on the product itself and what we are doing to bring this product to the market. What are the key messages of our presentation today? The first one I just delivered. There is a real unmet clinical need in cancer, and that's what we are addressing with our IndiTreat test. I will explain to you in a moment where 2cureX is coming from as a company, where it is going, and how we are building some momentum. We are in a critical moment in the company now. We will also share with you the results of a recent study showing that IndiTreat improves progression-free survival, that the use of IndiTreat by oncologists improves progression-free survival in patients in colorectal cancer. We'll speak a little bit about our management team. We have strengthened the management team recently with profiles that are different from the profiles that 2cureX had before, and specifically bringing in people like myself with international go-to-market experience. We'll speak briefly about the first product that we are rolling out and how we are looking at 2021 to 2023 from a commercial point of view. By the end of it, I hope you will be convinced that 2cureX is an attractive investment case. So we have had a very strong news flow in the first quarter, or in the first half of first quarter actually of 2021. We started on January 5th with my appointment as new CEO. What's relevant here is more, let's say, the profile itself, the fact that I am coming from the in vitro diagnostics industry, the fact that I have extensive experience rolling out new products and transitioning from technology to product in the in vitro diagnostics industry. On January 21st, we announced that the last patient in our TIC trial had been treated. Therefore, that was more or less almost coming to the end of the trial, and that's an outstanding achievement, considering that because of COVID and everything, typically all trials have been delayed. We were able, together with our partner in Vile, to keep the timelines of our study. A little later, we announced that we brought in a new Chief Financial Officer, Kenneth Grabeck Johansen, who also is coming from multinational companies and who has extensive experience in international businesses. On February 4th, we were very happy to announce that we were selected as partner in the Decider trial, which is a very important trial for us in ovarian cancer. The Decider study has many very relevant international players. The key hospitals in Europe are part of this trial, but also some artificial intelligence and computing centers, etc. So that being selected for the Decider trial was a big endorsement for us, for our technology. And finally, only yesterday, we announced that the TIC trial, which I referred to before and which Ole will go in more detail later, has met the primary endpoint. And that's amazing news for us. We have been waiting for this for years, actually. To get a feeling of where the company is coming from, let me share a little bit of a timeline. The company is a spin-off of the Carlsberg Research Center, and that happened back in 2007. Since then, the company has been building a very solid foundation. In these 13 years, the company has been building a very solid foundation in the different levels that are required. So we have built a strong financial position. Highlights here are that since 3 years ago, we are listed in the Nasdaq First North Stock Exchange. In 2019, we went through a capital raise, a successful capital raise. Another one in 2020. So we have a solid financial position from the point of view of cash flow. We have released our Q4 report last week. Also important, we have been building this intellectual property, these patents around our technology. We have basically two families of patents. First family of patents was issued in 2009. The second one was issued in 2018 and then extended in 2020. So from the point of view of protecting our technology and our methods, we are very comfortable. The organization itself has been developing over time from a spin-off, which was basically a research group, into a full-fledged organization. In 2015, we established our German affiliate in Hamburg. And in 2018 and 2019, we added to the management team people with a lot of experience as chief business officer, chief financial officer, chief medical officers. And then in 2021, as I said, I joined myself, and then we had a new chief financial officer. And from the point of view of the product, most relevant is after a period of fine-tuning and developing the technology, the clinical trial for the colorectal cancer application started back in 2007. In 2017, 2018, we started the clinical trials in ovarian and pancreatic cancer. In 2020, the last patient in the colorectal cancer trial was enrolled. That's important. This is a 3-year study, and you will understand later why. But this is an interventional study, so it requires some time to look at the outcome of the patients. We launched actually the colorectal cancer application at ESMO at the end of last year. Then the last patient, after being enrolled, was treated in the colorectal cancer trial, and after that, the results, as I said, were released yesterday. And I will turn now the word to Ole, who will go into a little bit more details about the study itself.
Thank you, Fernando. As Fernando said, we had we did meet our primary endpoint in this colorectal cancer trial. And I must say that the press release we issued yesterday is probably the shortest press release with the most important message that I've ever issued. And why is that? Well, first of all, the data that came out of this study is to be presented at ASCO. That is the American Society of Clinical Oncology, the largest and most prestigious worldwide congress in clinical oncology. The University Hospital Vejle principal investigator decided that we had to go to ASCO because the data are so important. Why do we then issue so short a press release with such very important information and data? The reason is that ASCO have very strict rules with regard to publishing anything beforehand of the meeting in June. So we are not allowed to say anything of the study before June unless you are a publicly traded company. Whereas, you know, we are required to disclose certain important data. But you can only do that under very strict guidelines. So we decided to do it because we felt the market had to know this important information, even though we were under these strict restrictions. The press release will have to be short, and we can only present qualitative information. And we can in no way come with interpretation about what are the implications for clinical practice. And they even have a template that you have to follow exactly. And you will see we have done that in the press release of yesterday. Today, we have issued a newsletter where we explain in more detail why and how this information has been presented yesterday. So if we go to the next slide, then I want to dive in to the actual trial. This slide we have shown actually for the last few months, where we showed what is the last bit of this trial, how is that going to look like? Well, the last patient was enrolled in October of last year. Then we will actually put that treatment of 8 weeks of treatment designed and guided by the IndiTreat test. We also announced that the last patient was finally treated around New Year in December. And then we said we hope that we can report data to the market in Q1. And that was exactly what we did yesterday. Next slide, please. And here you see a little bit more on this trial. It is the first prospective interventional trial in the world where a 3D microtumor system is guiding cancer treatment. We launched it in October of 2017. So it's more than 3 years ago that we have included and treated patients. We then were allowed to give this peek, this preview of the study results that we showed the market yesterday. And the full data will be submitted or has been submitted and will be presented at ASCO in June of this year. And the latter, you see this panel of red, especially red dots, that shows a patient that was tested with all the standard treatments. The standard treatments are the ones to the left, most of those red ones. That is, unfortunately, a situation that the patient does not respond to any of the standard treatments. When we then go to the right, we use off-label drugs. So these are drugs that are approved, but maybe not for colorectal cancer. And we were lucky enough to find one combination of 2 drugs that worked. Those were provided to the patient. Now we will show you a small movie that shows the principle of the IndiTreat test. So Fernando, if you would launch that.
Every patient is an individual with their own unique biological variations. Our genes tell us a lot, but not everything. They do tell us how complex we are, but they do not yet tell us what drugs work best for each patient's particular form of cancer. At 2cureX, we have pioneered the use of 3D microtumors to reveal how patients respond to drugs. With IndiTreat, we can create thousands of patient-derived microtumors. We can test different drugs on each one of them in the lab without affecting the patient. And we can identify resistance and sensitivity to drugs. Now we can perform tests on your patients and compare to results from reference patients, giving patients a better quality of life and a better chance for treatment success. IndiTreat supports your clinic by adding functional tumor response information to your genomic studies. 2cureX, the power of precision for every oncologist today.
Now, how does it look in real life? What you see here is our small microtumors in the column where it says day 1. Here we have taken a small tissue sample and made hundreds to thousands of small copies. For our microtumors, they respond as the tumor in the patient. Then the top panel, you will see what happens if we allow this guy to grow over a little bit more than a week. You will see how it grows rather dramatically. In the next panel, where we say we put cancer treatment A, unfortunately, this treatment did not work. You will see to the right, we say the tumor is not sensitive. Luckily, when we tested the cancer treatment B, we saw that this microtumor not only was the growth inhibited, it simply fell apart. So that is the treatment we will provide the patient. And next slide, please. Yes. And then I will give it over to Fernando to show how we are going to put this into the marketplace.
Yes, so from the point of view of developing a portfolio of products, this technology that Ole just described, we can apply to multiple cancer entities. So we are starting with colorectal, but as I mentioned before, we have studies going on in ovarian, pancreatic, and others. But even within one cancer entity, like colorectal cancer, for example, there are multiple points in the patient journey where the test can be used and can be of utility for the oncologist. We have metastatic colorectal cancer, for example. The first-line treatment requires certain types of drugs. The third-line treatment requires a different type of drug. So what we envision is that the different versions of IndiTreat tests are going to be used throughout the patient journey in different moments by the oncologist. In terms of geographic rollout, we have started. We are building a network of distributors. We have started obviously in the closest markets to home, so Denmark and Sweden, Finland, Norway. This is where we have already coverage of through appointed distributors. We also have an appointed distributor in Portugal, and we are in the process of discussing partnership agreements in the big 5 European countries. That's Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and UK. For this rollout, obviously, the data that are going to be shown at ASCO are very important. It's an important endorsement for us. And after that, we are going to be looking at other countries in Europe. Also, during the last years, 2cureX has been building this network of not only a commercial network, not only partnering with hospitals for the clinical trials, but actually a wider range of stakeholders. So we have academic institutions, we have partners of different technologies that are relevant for us. And very importantly, we care a lot about our relationship with patient societies. We have very close collaborations with several of them, and we are going to obviously be expanding that. And then, of course, in the fourth group, we have what we are developing now, as I just mentioned, our commercial partners. This is going to be our sales channel. So in summary, and that's the last slide today, just as a reminder, there is an unmet clinical need in cancer. We are addressing this with our IndiTreat test. We have built over the last years strong momentum, and we are now at this turning point of becoming from a product development company into a full-fledged commercial company. We have these results that we have been speaking about that allow us to state the improvement in progression-free survival. We have an executive management team in place, which is experienced and which has done before what we are undergoing now as a company. The first product is out there, and we are building the infrastructure to bring this product to the market, starting now and going forward. So with this, we are finalizing our presentation, and probably we will take some questions now.
Fernando and Ole, thank you very much. Yes, we do have some questions from our customers here. And if we start with the first one of our customers is asking about the result of the newly ended test and why it has been handed over to ASCO. You might already have come into this a bit, but he's also asking when we can expect to meet to publish the results.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the ASCO, picking up the ASCO is so obvious because it is strong results, but it's also a decision that the clinical partner at the University Hospital Vejle have taken. By the way, the best cancer hospital in Denmark, sixth year in a row. They have decided that they are going to publish there, and it has created a little bit confusion, I must admit, and that was also why here in this presentation gave it a little bit more time to explain why. So that is the best platform you can get when you are in cancer. That's ASCO. So on the other hand, you can say if you do not have convincing results, then you tell the whole world that you do not. So it's definitely a place you want to showcase positive results. So we look forward to that. And we could then give this little tidbit of news. However, I should say what we did send out was by far the most important news, namely that we had met the primary endpoint. That's what any trial is trying to achieve. So in that sense, there's already a lot of information there.
Great, thanks. And then moving on to the next one, I think this is a fairly good question. One of our clients is asking how your test is comparing to already existing tests.
Yes, I mean, you can say what have been tried for many years is to use genomics to design an individual treatment. And so that is an obvious competitor. Unfortunately, one have to say for the genomics companies is that there were two large studies that came out last year, one from NCI, National Cancer Institute in the US, and one from ESMO. And we are talking about a huge number of trials where they sort of assembled them all. And it turns out that's only a small proportion of patients that benefit. It is between 0.8 and 3% that benefit. Genomics is fantastic, but not for designing a treatment, more characterizing. So a functional test like IndiTreat have that ability to provide both efficacy and resistance. There are others that want to build and are building functional tests. Here, there's a couple of advantages for us. Point one, we have been there, as Fernando said, for many years, so we have a strong IP. Second is that the ones that are building them at the moment are mostly in the academic arena, so major universities, and also at university hospitals. We collaborate with them, but they are not interested in going in and get all the regulatory aspects done. And you may know that that environment is changing completely in the years to come. So I think 2cureX is in a very strong position to push this functional test into the marketplace.
Great, thanks. Then I have a question from another customer here. He is asking who will eventually pay for the test And also furthermore writing here, if I am correct, funding of tests is one of many challenges on top of a local infrastructure, access to tests and access to laboratories.
Yes, so yeah, sure. Of course, our goal at the end is to go into what we call the mainstream reimbursement systems. Now, this is different country to country. There is no unified system in Europe. Therefore, and that's one of the reasons why we need local partners to help us with all the process of getting reimbursement. In the meantime, of course, there are, if I may call it like this, marginal reimbursement ways. So there is patients who are willing to pay out of pocket. There are some insurance companies who have like these extensions of their insurance, and they might allow a test like ours. There are hospitals in some countries. Hospitals have the autonomy to actually make the decisions by themselves to use a test or not. So we are looking at it country to country. It cannot be any other way. And actually, one of the ways how we are prioritizing the countries, the sequence of the countries where we are entering, is actually also, among other things, based on the complexity or less complexity of the reimbursement schemes. But our goal is to be reimbursed in the mainstream reimbursement systems all over Europe.
Great, thanks. And maybe to work a bit on that, can you elaborate a bit on your expansion plans within or outside of Europe?
Yes. So our current model means that we are testing we are collecting the samples at the hospital site, and we are testing these samples in our central labs in Copenhagen and in Hamburg. So there is a certain these samples are very critical samples, in the sense that these are live cells. So there are certain restrictions in terms of the logistics to get these samples to our labs in the right conditions. We have, I mean, this is all sorted out within Europe, so it's perfectly possible to ship samples across Europe within the time frame that we need, and the samples arrive in perfect conditions. We have lots of experience with this. But then when you want to go beyond that, when you're thinking of doing Asia, or you're thinking of doing the United States, which certainly are markets which are of our interest, but here we need to go into a different model, where we would need to have local labs in the regions in order to allow us to manage the sample logistics properly. So our focus in 2021 and probably also in 2022 is Europe. We want to roll out in Europe. We want to get these reimbursement schemes that we were talking about. We want to be solid here, and then we will expand beyond Europe.
Great, thanks. Maybe this is for you, Ole. You talked a little about the ASCO. Can you elaborate more about when we can expect to meet and publish some data from that?
Yes, the meeting at ASCO is the first week of June. So, but what is happening in parallel with this is that publication is being written. So, but it cannot come out before ASCO. So the final date where all the data will be released will be at ASCO. Actually, the abstracts are public a bit before, but you will have to wait at least a couple of months.
Okay. One of our viewers here is asking about the delay of the data, if that comes with any issues of expanding and making potential new partners.
No, I don't think so, because anyway, what we are doing is we are with the hospitals that have already expressed interest in using our test. We are already setting up some call it like these trial runs, where they are going to be testing our service, let's say. So this is something that can be done in parallel to the ASCO communication being prepared and released. In terms of signing up new distributors in these countries that I was mentioning before, also we don't think this is going to be an impairment. So I don't think that this is going to delay us in any way from a commercial rollout point of view.
Maybe if I could comment, I would say this I would say why are all the data not released and why should we wait? That is not a question we get at all for the oncologist. The oncologists know, well, wow, you have actually met the endpoint of the trial. That's the only thing we're looking for. I mean, there will be a lot of other stuff that comes out of the trial. Several papers will be written, but that piece is what makes the oncologist say, we go for it. So they don't have questions. We have already talked to a number of them here today and said, oh, fantastic. So you did really meet it. It was a highly ambitious trial that it was not ourselves that set the endpoint. That was the hospital. They said, if you can meet this endpoint, then you really have a test that can make a difference. And to be honest, I was very nervous and active because it was extremely ambitious. But now we are there. So the oncologists they just say, fantastic, let's run. So it's more the market that say, well, where are all the data? But the oncologists have them.
Great. So I think I'll wrap this up with one last question. You talked about the decider and from your recently press release. Maybe you can just elaborate a bit more on why that is so important for you.
I mean, decider is truly interesting. It is a 15 million euro project where actually the end goal is to make a sort of on your smartphone. You have a program that the oncologist more or less is tapping data in, and then a treatment suggesting is coming out. But they need to flow data into this system, and that's where we are providing functional data. There are other data sources and the patient data, all that will go into this platform. The platform will actually be provided for free for European oncologists, but obviously not the data flow. So being part of this that may be rolled out throughout Europe is absolutely fantastic. And the other thing is that, as Fernando said, our next cancer will be ovarian cancer. So it's just smack into our next product. And it's not every day that you get a chance to work with, say, Karolinska Institute Pasteur. A lot of highly prestigious hospitals and research institutions throughout Europe. So that's very important for us.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating here, Fernando and Ole. It was great to hear your side of the story from the company. And thank you for all you guys that listened to this. I hope you got an answer to most of your questions. Otherwise, keep an eye on the website for the company or the information here on Nordnet. So thank you for today, guys.
Thank you.